See, entrepreneurship is a very what you call a discontinuous, abnormal kind of a phenomena. It is something that is literally embedded in your gene. So there are people who want to again pursue not wealth, not success, not external recognition, but voices from within. So something that is a compelling creative force or energy, and that literally drives you to do something that ultimately has a long-term impact and benefit on several lives. So I would call it a very, a very, I would say, discontinuous phenomena. As I mentioned, it is not something streamlined and cannot be taught in schools. It is something that you inherently have, and then you put the focus on a specific idea and take it forward. See, my family has a very mixed set of professions. My father was a lawyer in the Allahabad High Court. My mother is a practicing gynecologist. She is again from Allahabad. My brother did his MBA from IIM Lucknow. He was with Procter & Gamble a couple of years. And then he moved to start his own business at the same time as I moved to start my own business after completing almost 12 years with WNS, GE, Wipro, a couple of other companies. So I think I don't have any kind of family background of entrepreneurship, and in that sense a first generation entrepreneur. Yeah, I'm an MBA from SPJ. Prior to that I did my BCom from Allahabad University. So again, a lot of people ask me if I'm a scientist. People address me as Dr. Nidhi Saxena, particularly because my business model is around drug development and commercialization. But actually, again, as I said, entrepreneurship does not have any educational background. It is a school of hard knocks. So you learn by experience, you learn by doing and trying out things. I think it was inherent. If I see myself as a child also, 7, 8 years old, extremely rebellious. There are situations where I would decide what clothes I want to wear, and my mother would, try to put something else, and I would say no. So I think fierce independence. The second thing is that, I was never impressed with my boss. I have routinely believed or done better than my supervisors. In that sense, the entire track record was that of being a winner, very, very fast and rapid growth in all the companies I've worked with, jumping 2-3 levels. I was a vice president at 32. So the idea that really was that if I have so much talent and energy and so much lateral thinking, why do it for someone else? Why not do it for myself? So I think it was an inherent thing, and even after the MBA, I think 5-6 of us had taken some sort of an informal pledge that we will go into entrepreneurship within 5 years of passing out. And the fact is that Karmic got formed exactly 5 years after I finished my MBA. So the 6th year I was actually fully operational with Karmic. 2002 I finished my MBA. 2008, the company was registered in 2005. 2008 I was full time into this. So I think it was very clear. Not resentment, but a lot of concern. Here is a secure full-time job. I was in the US, lots of stock options, a very good salary, etc. So when I decided to kind of give up my L1 visa, give up all the stock options, move back to India, they were concerned whether I will be able to stabilize and whether I may waste 2-3 years rather than kind of go up the corporate ladder, which I was anyways going up fast. But I think once I started, everybody was very supportive. I think they understood how my personality fitted to this whole independent business and the whole entrepreneurial idea. So I think everybody has been very supportive since then. Nobody resented it, people were concerned. But I think now my biggest identity is that of an entrepreneur. If you look at it, see, there are hundreds of my friends and colleagues who are doing very well in, say, big multinational setups, etc. But they are not recognized. The kind of media attention or the kind of coverage I've got, it's a little surprising. It is unexpected. It wasn't something that one planned for. One only planned that let us take some idea and reach a certain level. But I think the adulation, the support, look at just a simple thing like Facebook. If I put up a small post, I get something like 100 likes within minutes. So I think the kind of recognition and support I've got and the kind of identity Karmic has created, beyond money, I do not know when I will get to the rags to riches. I'm still in somewhere between the rags and the riches, frankly. We haven't made our money yet, but the point is that the satisfaction and the support that I've got is, and the love and affection from the team. So there are people here who believe that their families, their careers are getting supported because of Karmic. So I think that in itself is enough return for the effort. And of course, whatever happens in the future, obviously I'm looking forward to something bigger and Karmic Life Sciences is essentially a full services contract research organization. So whenever big pharma companies like Pfizer, GSK, Abbott, etc., they look for developing a drug and taking it to market, they need to do preclinical development and clinical development, submit all that data to a regulatory body like a US FDA, etc. And so we as a company support the entire end-to-end process of drug development and data collection, data analysis and submissions. So that is what the company does. See, I was working in a couple of BPO etc. companies where we were supporting some big pharma, and so that's the time when we realized that this could be a huge opportunity, particularly because it's like food. You know, new drugs will keep getting developed because there is disease, and hence trials keep happening. There are something like, I don't know, 100,000 plus trials happening across the globe. So trials will keep happening, and these are each trial, the development cost can be anywhere from 80 million to 800 million for a single drug. So there's a lot of money in the value chain. Companies are spending something like 10 to 14% of their kind of costs, overall revenues into R&D. So now 880 billion is the industry size, and you talk about 10%, talking about an 8.8 billion opportunity. 70% of it is kept in-house, let's say. I'm putting a high level number, and 40% gets, 30% gets outsourced. Even then it's a fairly huge number. It's upwards of 2 billion. So the idea is that this is a fairly large opportunity, and one needs to one can make money and one can get growth, and one is also doing something for the society because you are treating diseases like cancer, diabetes, cardiovascular conditions, pediatric conditions, tuberculosis, HIV. So in a way we are also doing a bit for the society. There are two big obstacles actually. The first obstacle is the regulatory climate in India has not been conducive. Being very, very upfront that the government is the biggest problem we have. Again, it's on record, but I think the policies need to be tailored to be at par with the West and to be scientifically rational. Our policy framework is highly confused, and every day there is a new change, and the industry is basically shrinking, although it was supposedly a sunrise sector a couple of years back. That was the first issue. The second issue was, I think, around funding. So again, while there are several companies who are willing to give what you call angel investment of say 2 to 4 crores, to really scale now, we as a company are looking at 35 to 40 crores. You need that kind of investment to really go global and scale. So that's where I think the second challenge is that getting funding onto a services business, and that too based on research and development. It is very scary for Indian venture capitalists and angel investors because they don't want to take the risk. Every time you talk to them, they are saying, is there a product? Is it an IT venture? So, I mean, come on. IT is not the only sector that is doing well. And so somewhere I think the investment scenario has been the other challenge. Apart from that, short-term challenges, attrition management. Luckily for us, our attrition rates have been under 10% and we are doing fairly well on that. Getting sometimes the right people with the right technical know-how. I think those are the standard challenges of any business. I think these are the most important things. Again, as I said, technical skills you can develop. If you do not have technical skills, you can hire people with technical skills. I think passion comes first because it's a very tough journey. It's a journey where you will have to make many sacrifices. You will have to sacrifice to start with, as mentioned, monetary sacrifices. Second is you're taking a risk when you talk about monetary and other sacrifices. Third is you're giving up a great career option, particularly when you are a trained and educated MBA. And I mean, today if I jump, I could get hundreds of options which I'm not taking. So I think what really keeps you energized is the passion and persistence. So I think that is the most important quality, and nothing else can replicate an entrepreneur's passion. Second thing about vision is that again, I think the vision part is a bit controversial. You may have one vision, but you will realize that on the way, the vision changes 30 times. It's possible. When we started, we said CRO. Now we are saying, look, pharma may be a huge business, licensing may be a huge business. So I would say that there is no way that you can sit here and say 10 years aage, what will happen? Exactly, in terms of business model. You will keep iterating and changing your business model and strategy also. Strategy, you cannot be emotionally attached to one single strategy. Keep changing that. What, from an overall vision perspective, yes, where do I want to see my company? So while my business model will change, my team may change, my capital strategy may change, my commercialization strategy may change, what is it that I ultimately want to see the company as? So what I want to see Karmic as an example, is a 1,000 people plus $100 million company in with deep expertise in science and specific areas like oncology, diabetes, etc. But then, is it going to be the CRO business? Is it going to be pharma? Is it going to be biotech? Am I going to look at India, China, is Europe, US? All that is flexible. One has, so what I mean, the concept is that vision is good to have. It is important. It's a sense of direction. But you cannot be very emotional about a vision. It is an iterative process where after 5 years I may start seeing a different and a bigger vision. As I move, it's like saying that if I'm at the bottom of the hill, I see only something. When I reach higher, I see something more. When I reach the top, I see a new reality. So, as an example, Sir Richard Branson, he starts with a Virgin Records music company. He does very well, he's successful, but then now his vision is Virgin Galactic Corporation, which is for space travel. So, now what was his vision? Was it setting up a great musical record company, or was it Galactic Corporation, or was it taking Virgin to a very big scale? So, I think the real vision was take it to a big scale. So I think that, this is my view, that vision is a very confusing word. Probably a 1 billion New York Stock Exchange registered entity with more than 2,000-3,000 employees, maybe 500-600 PhDs, 4-5 oncology, cardio, diabetes products in its kitty, and probably interest in new molecule development, new biologic development, new devices development. So I want to see it as a full scale innovator CRO with co-development bets in various molecules and technologies. And so that's a very massive vision, but let's hope. I still believe it's reachable. It is not very difficult. I have known companies that have taken 15-20 years, especially in the R&D space, but one big molecule or product and suddenly the revenue changes to $1 billion a year. So I don't think it is very difficult to get there. The point is, you see the big picture, don't think small. Don't have small ambitions. If you have small ambitions, you will only put small achievements. So have a very massive view and let it iterate, let it dynamically change. I think the biggest issue with entrepreneurs is because of the passion and the emotional attachment and the whatever the reasons for which they start. If a venture fails or if a venture is not scaling, they are not able to adapt. There was a very interesting quote I read somewhere that it is not the fittest of the species that survive. It is the most adaptable. So we have to adapt to the external environment. I think that's where the beauty of entrepreneurship lies. See, one is that there will be lots of criticism. That is the first thing. You have to again have the maturity to understand that. So there will be criticism from your employees. There will be criticism from your family and friends. There will be criticism from your what you call shareholders. There will be criticism for outsiders who just don't believe you are getting anywhere. So I think again the point is how to not be reactive about that criticism. Take the learnings from the criticism, take the constructive inputs, and then try to use them to get better. And leave out the part that is not relevant, because all criticism, as you rightly said, cannot be constructive. So take the important learnings and leave out the rest. And again, there's a very nice quote which says feedback is the breakfast of champions. So important to get feedback, but not necessarily take all the feedback, because see, you are the entrepreneur, you are the creator, you know your goals, you know your story, you know your strategy. So every time somebody criticizes your strategy, you cannot change your strategy based on an external perception. So I think again, one thing about entrepreneurs is that they are very intrinsically balanced. So they will not go off balance because there's some criticism or some question to their idea or some failure points. So ultimately it's the long-term persistence of an entrepreneur. So I think take it in your stride, it's a part of the game. I think it's been a very memorable journey. But I think recently we had a eureka moment where we created, launched our in-house proprietary clinical suite. It's called K-Trials. And the whole team here was sitting for almost, 3-4 continuous weeks. We did not take a break on Saturday, Sunday, etc. And finally, when the system launch mail went out and the testing and validation was done, I think that was one high point, because that product itself is worth a couple of millions, and it is a creative process, not just about business or money, but we created a whole damn engine which is better and more sophisticated than any other product in the world. So I think that was like a eureka moment for me. Apart from that, several memorable moments with the team. Our first global SIV, our first international deal worth $2 million, couple of other things, couple of awards, functions, etc. So inaugurating this facility. So there have been many, many moments. I have never faced any challenge because of being a woman. I'm being very upfront. I'm not very sexist or genderistic, but I've not had any challenge because I was a woman. I think the challenges that entrepreneurs would have would be around is the business model right? Is the business model scalable? Is the cash flow making sense? Is the team right? Is the idea right? I think there may be one or two questions around, is the woman concerned going to totally focus on the business? Or is she going to have other priorities which may suddenly in the midterm change the focus? So as an example, family, children, etc. So at least in my case, the way I have interacted with investors and VCs, the way I've interacted with my team members and with my partners and business people, I think everybody understands I'm highly ambitious and highly focused. So at least with me, nobody's ever asked me this question, are you going to give this up for something else? So at least I haven't faced any other challenge. But I think normally they do ask that, is your focus going to be, is it 5 years, 6 year, 10-year plan? Are you going to suddenly say 2 years later you pack your bags and go? But that is true about male entrepreneurs also. I mean, any investor would ask the same question to a male entrepreneur also. Because we know that it takes 5 to 10 years to build a business. It could be anywhere up to 20 years to build a really solid business. So longevity is what I think the people are concerned about. Apart from that, I don't think there is any problem. The other thing to look at it from a different glass is that there are no special schemes for women entrepreneurs. There is no special incentive either. So as I said, while there is no special roadblock, there is no special incentive either. In most countries like US, etc., there is a very clear minority owned business category wherein women is one minority category. And so there they give special discounts, they give special SOPs, they give special tenders and contract awards to women entrepreneurs and women owned businesses. Now something like that, I think it's high time that India also does that. The reason for that is again not that one should not have a level playing field. As I mentioned, I am all for a level playing field. The problem is that it is not about women like me. It is about these hundreds and thousands and millions of women in villages as an example, who might get benefited from this scheme and get a head start to do something. So I think for that category, having special schemes is extremely important. I think you have to first accept the environment. The environment is not entrepreneur friendly. It is actually, there are pockets where there are schemes and policies which are entrepreneur friendly, but in general, there are going to be some challenges on the way. I think there again, keeping realistic expectations. That is the first thing. Second is that not getting frustrated very easily, because the system is what it is. You have to get your work done within the system. And again, whenever you think about it, look at companies like Infosys, etc., which have made it in spite of the system. And the third thing is that don't get corrupted just because the system is not clean. So as an example, again, Infosys or Wipro, etc., there are companies which have made it even using an ethical route. So as I put it, no shortcuts. Take the standard route, take the process-driven method route, and stay calm and patient. There are negatives, but there are also several positives of working in India today. It's a large market. That is the first thing. Second thing is that I think the basic infrastructure and support system definitely exists. It is not as if you cannot do business here. I mean, I quit my job in the US and I have worked and done business in the US as well. And trust me, there are equally bureaucratic issues, there are equally process related issues, there are equal delays. So these are perceptions. And ultimately, again, as I said, the entrepreneur, the best thing is that resourcefulness. So how do you get your job done in spite of all the resource constraints? And one of the resource constraints is favorable government policy, less business oriented rules, I would say. But again, picture is changing and the opportunity is also huge. This is where the opportunity is. Lots, as I mentioned, there is nothing really. There is no incubation, there is no real scheme, there are no even tax cuts. There are some things like Sidbi, as an example, has some very good schemes, but I think those schemes are focused on very small businesses. So the small and medium enterprise sector does have some funding support, etc. But the minute you come to a medium size, I mean, today 1 crore is the cash I burn in 3 months. How is it going to help me? So where is that support for a 10 crore, 30 crore, 40 crore business? So I think yes, there needs to be a lot more. So early stage investment again is not a very, all the investment that is happening is done by the angel investors and individuals, HNIs. The government is not doing anything specific. There is not even a single government backed angel fund. Again, if you compare it with the West, there are these various options, schemes, etc., that the government fosters. So I think a lot needs to be done if we really want entrepreneurship to grow in this. I would only say this, that if you feel that entrepreneur inside you knocking, just open the door. Don't waste too much time. Because I think the minute you start talking to 30 people, you'll get 30 views. They will tell you about the risks. But ultimately, you have to look at what your inner voice is saying. So the decision has to be taken from your heart and your soul and your mind. And I think the decision is very personal. Don't involve 100 people. Take the decision yourself. After that, you will anyways need to involve so many people to get ideas, thoughts. But this thing has to be very intrinsic. The motivation and the fire has to come from within. And so too much of de-risking, too much of planning, too much of circumventing, delaying the issue is not a good thing. When you feel the fire, just take the jump. That's I think the only thing that I would say to entrepreneurs.